She married a loving man. But his addicted brother turned their home into a nightmare. A scream shattered the quiet Seattle home like glass breaking in the night. Rose jolted awake, heart hammering, as Michael rushed downstairs. She could hear someone, rummaging through drawers. A single thought flashed in her mind: he's back again. Just 3 months into their marriage, Rose had imagined fresh beginnings, a garden outside their rented house, weekend movie nights, morning coffee with her gentle husband. She never expected to fear the shadows inside her own home. Michael returned moments later, face pale. "It's Ethan," he whispered, jaw tight. He took Dad's watch again. Rose's stomach sank. Ethan, Michael's younger brother, once a bright student, now a gaunt shell lost to drugs. Since losing his job in a warehouse layoff, addiction had swallowed him whole. Rehab was suggested. Tears and promises followed. But the cycle continued. Morning arrived heavy. In the kitchen, Michael's father, Richard, stared silently at his empty wrist where the gold watch should have been, a family heirloom. His mother, Linda, placed eggs on the table, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. "He needs help," Richard said sternly. "Rehab isn't optional this time." Linda slammed the pan down. "He's my son, Richard. You think throwing him into a facility will fix him? He needs us. Family doesn't abandon family." Michael's voice trembled but held firm. "Mom, he's stealing, threatening. We can't pretend anymore." Rose stayed quiet, hands shaking beneath the table. She loved this family, but fear had begun to replace peace. Only last week, Ethan barged into her room, eyes wild, demanding money. She never told Michael, afraid of breaking him more. Linda suddenly pointed at Rose. "Ever since she came, this house has changed. You brainwashed them against Ethan." Rose felt the accusation was like a slap. "I've done nothing but care," Rose whispered. "I want him safe, too." Before anyone replied, the front door creaked open. Ethan stepped inside, hollow eyes, trembling hands, lips cracked. He reeked of sweat and desperation. "I need money," he mumbled. "Just $50, just this time." Richard stood, voice steel. "No more. You're going to rehab. Today." Ethan's gaze flicked to Rose, cold, sharp. "You think you can replace me here?" he hissed. Michael moved to shield her. Ethan laughed bitterly. "If I don't get help, you'll all regret what happens next." The room froze. Fear and heartbreak hung like poison in the air. That night, something disappears, something precious, and the family faces a choice that will fracture them further. By dawn, chaos had a name, and it was missing. Richard's safe, the one he kept locked behind his wardrobe for emergencies, stood wide open. Cash gone. Important documents scattered like fallen leaves. Panic rippled through the house. Michael ran a hand through his hair. "He took everything, Rose. Dad's savings. Even insurance papers." His voice cracked. "How do we come back from this?" Rose held his trembling hands. "We face it. Together." But deep inside, fear gnawed. If Ethan could break into a safe, what else could he do? Linda paced aggressively. "We shouldn't have pushed him. He wouldn't do this if he felt supported." She glared at her husband and son as if they were the criminals. Richard's shoulders sagged with exhaustion. "Linda, wake up. He's destroying us." For a moment, silence, then Linda whispered with fierce protectiveness, "He is still my baby." Later that afternoon, a knock rattled the front door. Unexpectedly. Tense. Michael opened it to find Ethan, eyes bloodshot, breathing heavy. "I just need a place to stay for a few days," he slurred. "No," Richard said. "Yes." Linda countered, rushing to Ethan's side. A storm erupted, accusations, tears, every word cutting like sharpened glass. Michael turned to Ethan quietly, voice low. Give back the money. Ethan smirked. What money? Rose stepped forward, surprising even herself. Ethan, please. You're hurting everyone. He stared at her, expression shifting from annoyance to something darker, hungry, unstable. Funny, you talk like you belong here, he muttered, stepping closer. Michael pushed him back. Don't talk to her like that. Ethan snapped. She replaced me. I was here first. The shout echoed. Richard finally broke. That's it. I'm calling rehab. You either go willingly, or I'll involve the police. Ethan's jaw tightened. His hands shook. For a moment, he looked like a frightened child. Then, rage. He lunged for the phone in Richard's hand. Michael restrained him, both crashing into a table. Glass shattered across the floor. Rose stood frozen, adrenaline flooding her veins. Linda sobbed, begging them to stop. Finally, Michael pinned Ethan, panting. This ends now, he said, voice heavy with heartbreak. But Ethan stopped struggling, and smiled. A slow, chilling smile. You think you're safe, Rose, he whispered. You have no idea what withdrawal feels like. I'll come back. I always do. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Michael's grip faltered. For the first time, Rose saw real fear in her husband's eyes. That night, Rose will be left alone in the house, and Ethan returns when no one else is home. The house was too quiet, dangerously quiet. Rain tapped the Seattle windows like restless fingers, and Rose kept glancing at the door even though Michael promised he'd be back soon. Richard had driven with him to arrange Ethan's involuntary rehab admission. Linda refused to join them. She locked herself in her room and cried all evening, blaming everyone but the son, tearing the family apart. Rose tried distracting herself, washed dishes, folded laundry, reheated leftovers, but every sound felt like footsteps. Every shadow is like someone watching. At 8:12 p.m., the lights flickered. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. We're family, right? Let me in. Rose's heart dropped. Ethan. She backed away from the door, breathing sharp and shallow. He doesn't know I'm alone, does he? Another message came. I just need money. Or something to trade. You have jewelry, don't you? Rose's fingers trembled as she dialed Michael, but the call failed, signal cut by the storm. She checked every window, every lock twice. The tension felt suffocating. Suddenly, bang. The back door shook violently. Rose gasped, grabbing a kitchen knife with unsteady hands. Ethan's voice slithered through the woods. Open up, Rose. I'm freezing. I just want to talk. His tone was gentle, too gentle, like a predator pretending peace. Rose forced her voice steady. You need help. Please leave before Michael gets back. Silence. She hoped he'd gone, until she heard a window slide open. Rose bolted upstairs, heart racing, knife clutched tight. She hid inside the bedroom closet, knees pulled to her chest. Each second dragged like hours. Footsteps creaked up the stairs. Slow. Seeking. Rose, Ethan drawled. You think I wouldn't find a way in? A drawer slammed. Papers scattered. Something crashed to the floor. He was searching, for valuables, or for her. Rose covered her mouth to stifle a sob. The closet door handle rattled. Her entire body froze. Every muscle screamed to run, but fear chained her in place. Ethan's breathing was on the other side, shallow, erratic. Come out. I need something to sell. Just give me your wedding ring, it'll be quick. Tears streamed silently. She tightened her grip on the knife. Suddenly, headlights flashed outside. A car door slammed. Voices, Michael and Richard's. Ethan hissed, footsteps retreating fast toward the back exit. Michael sprinted through the door. Rose? Rose. His voice cracked with panic. She burst from the closet, collapsing into his arms, shaking uncontrollably. He was here. He tried to get into the room. I thought. She couldn't finish. Richard's face turned stone. Tomorrow, we will end this. Whatever it takes. But Linda appeared on the stairs, eyes wild. If you send him away, you will lose me, too. The family stood divided, on the edge of something irreversible. A heartbreaking twist will force them to choose, save Ethan, or save each other. By morning, love had become a battlefield. No one slept. Rose sat at the dining table with puffy eyes, Michael pacing like a trapped animal, Richard silent and stern, while Linda kept defending Ethan through sobs. He just needs time, she cried. He's sick, not evil. Michael's jaw tightened. Mom, he threatened Rose. He broke in. If we do nothing, someone will get hurt. Linda slammed a hand on the table. He is my son. And Rose is my wife, Michael snapped, louder than anyone had ever heard him. Silence fell, heavy and painful. Richard finally spoke, voice low and tired. Linda, we're calling the intervention counselor. The documents he stole. We can recover, but if we lose our family, there's no return. Linda trembled. If you take him away, he'll hate me. He'll think I abandoned him. Rose stepped closer, gently. Maybe he'll live long enough to forgive you. The words broke Linda. She sank into a chair and wept like a wounded mother. An intervention team arrived around noon. A plan was set. Ethan would be picked up and taken to a facility, whether he agreed or not. Michael looked emotionally torn, but resolved. Rose stood beside him, fingers intertwined. Just as they prepared to leave, the front door swung open. Ethan stumbled in, eyes red, hands shaking violently, sweat dripping down his neck. He looked worse than ever. Withdrawal gnawed at his nerves like fire. Mom, he croaked, voice fragile, I need money. Just this time. Please. Linda ran to him instinctively, but Richard caught her arm. Ethan's gaze darted around, seeing the strangers, sensing the plan. Rage boiled beneath his thin skin. Rehab? You're sending me away? It's for your safety, Michael said, steady but hurting. Ethan laughed, hysterical, broken. Safety? You just want me gone so you two can have your perfect life. He pointed at Rose, fingers shaking violently. She took everything from me. You were my family first. Then, in a shocking twist, Ethan pulled out a small pocket knife. Linda screamed. Rose froze in horror. Michael stepped forward. Ethan, put it down. You don't want this. Ethan's arm trembled, confusion, pain, withdrawal all battling inside him. His eyes glistened, not with hate, but with a lost child's despair. I don't know who I am without this family. Michael's voice cracked. Then let us help you. A second of stillness. Then Ethan lunged. Michael reacted fast, grabbing Ethan's wrist. The knife clattered to the floor. Intervention workers pinned Ethan while he thrashed, screaming his mother's name. Linda collapsed to her knees, reaching helplessly as they restrained him. Mom! Mom! Ethan cried, voice raw, heartbreaking. Linda's scream echoed through the house, a sound Rose would never forget. A final confrontation, a painful decision, and the moment the family breaks or heals. The house felt like a battlefield after the storm, but the war wasn't over. Ethan was taken to the rehab facility, sedated, and handcuffed for transport. His screams still echoed in the hallway hours later. Linda refused to speak to anyone. She locked herself inside Ethan's room, hugging his old trophies and childhood drawings like fragile memories. Michael sat on the edge of the bed that night, eyes red and swollen, crushed by guilt. Rose held his hand, whispering, "You did what you had to. You saved him." He shook his head. "Did I?" Or did I just betray my own brother? Rose rested her head on his shoulder. Saving someone doesn't always look gentle. Sometimes it looks like it's breaking. Downstairs, Richard sat alone in the dim living room, staring at Ethan's baby photo on the mantel. I should have seen this coming, he murmured as Rose approached. I was too strict, too distant. Linda was too soft. And we lost him between us. Rose placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. He's not lost. He's fighting a disease. And now, finally, he has a chance. Days passed. The house was raw, wounded. Linda barely ate. Sometimes she blamed Michael, sometimes Rose, sometimes Richard, but mostly herself. One evening, she walked into Rose's room with trembling hands. I said awful things to you, Linda whispered, eyes swollen. You weren't the reason he fell apart. You just happened to arrive when everything was already breaking. Rose felt tears rise. I never wanted to replace anyone. I wanted to be family. Linda sobbed, pulling her into a desperate embrace. I'm sorry. I was drowning, and I clung to the wrong piece. Forgiveness came slowly, like healing bones. Some days messy, some hopeful. Richard visited Ethan weekly. Michael attended family therapy. Linda joined support groups for parents of addicts. Rose stood by all of them, the quiet glue holding pieces together. 3 months later, they visited Ethan at rehab. He looked healthier, still fragile, but alive. His eyes met Rose's with something new, remorse. I hurt you, he said, voice thin. I don't remember everything, but I remember fear. I'm trying to be better. Rose smiled softly. We haven't given up on you. Michael stepped forward, voice steady. We're here, Ethan. But you need to meet us halfway. Ethan nodded slowly, a small, fragile seed of hope. The family walked out under a pale Seattle sky, broken, but rebuilding. Not perfect. Not healed overnight. But together. Because sometimes love isn't the absence of pain. It's choosing to fight through it. A future glimpse showing relapse risks, recovery progress, and the emotional aftermath with a powerful final resolution. 6 months later, peace wasn't perfect, but it finally had room to breathe. Leaves rustled softly outside the Seattle porch where Rose and Michael sat with mugs of coffee, warmth rising in the chill morning air. Not long ago, this house had echoed with fights, fear, and broken glass. Now, for the first time, it felt like a home again, quieter, fragile, but growing back together like cracked pottery filled with gold. Ethan had been sober for 117 days, he counted each one. He attended counseling, worked part-time at a local grocery, and lived under supervised housing near the rehab center. His steps were shaky, but they were forward. Some nights were harder, cravings, anxiety, guilt, but he didn't run anymore. He reached out instead. Richard drove every weekend to see him. They played chess, something they hadn't done since Ethan was 13. Slowly, the distance that once felt like a canyon shrank piece by piece. Linda, too, changed. The woman who once defended Ethan blindly now learned the painful balance between love and accountability. She visited support groups twice a week, sometimes inviting Rose to join. Their relationship grew, not forced, but earned. One evening, the family gathered at the garden Michael had built, something Ethan once mocked, now admired. Rose grilled vegetables, Linda prepared lemonade, Richard set the table. When Ethan arrived, he stood hesitantly at the gate. He looked healthier, clean clothes, clearer eyes, but anxiety clung to him like a shadow. Michael opened his arms wide. Welcome home, little brother. Ethan swallowed hard. I don't know if I deserve home. You do, Rose said softly. As long as you keep choosing it. Dinner was simple, laughter shaky but real. At one point, Ethan excused himself to the yard. Rose followed and found him staring at the horizon, jaw tight. I passed the convenience store where I used to score, he admitted. For a second. I wanted to go in. His hands shook. I'm scared of relapsing. Rose didn't answer with clichés. She simply placed her hand over his. Recovery isn't about never falling. It's about getting up again, and knowing you're not alone anymore. Ethan nodded, eyes wet. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I was someone not worth loving. Rose's heart softened. You were always worth loving. You were just lost. In that moment, with streetlights flickering and crickets singing, the family wasn't perfect, but they were fighting forward. And sometimes, hope looks like holding hands in the dark, waiting for sunrise together. 1 year later, the storm had passed, but its lessons remained like footprints in wet soil. Rose stood in the backyard garden, sunlight dancing on the tomato vines she and Michael planted together. It was peaceful, not silent in fear, but quiet in growth. Birds fluttered on the fence, the air crisp with early summer. The world, once trembling with chaos, now felt steady beneath her feet. From inside the house came gentle laughter, something she once thought this home might never hear again. Ethan arrived early for Sunday lunch, carrying a cake he proudly baked at his new culinary training program. His hands no longer shook. His eyes, once hollow and desperate, now held light again, cautious, humble, but shining. Richard greeted him at the door, patting his back like a father relearning affection. Linda wiped tears every time she saw her son eat well, laugh, or share stories of progress. She walked outside to Rose with a bowl of fresh fruit. You saved my family, Linda whispered, not as an apology, but as truth earned through fire. Rose smiled. We saved each other. During lunch, Michael made a toast. Voice steady but emotional. To survive what could have destroyed us, and to choose love when it felt impossible. Everyone lifted their glasses. Even Ethan, whose eyes shimmered with meaning too deep for words. Later, Ethan helped Rose wash dishes. The kitchen felt warm, sunlight through curtains, not broken glass on the floor. He took a shaky breath. There's something I want to say, he murmured. Rose turned, attentive. If I ever slip, if I ever go back to that darkness, don't protect me from consequences. Hold me accountable. Because love isn't covering the wound, it's cleaning it, even when it stings. Rose nodded with proud sorrow. And we'll be here. Not to enable, but to walk beside you. Ethan smiled, small but genuine. That night, after the family left and the house quieted again, Michael wrapped his arms around Rose as they watched the sunset from their porch swing. We went through hell, he said softly. Yes, Rose replied, head resting on his chest. But we didn't stay there. The sky melted into shades of gold and violet, the color of endings and new beginnings. And the moral settled gently. Family isn't defined by perfection, but by who stays to rebuild when everything falls apart. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it is the strongest form of love. As the first stars flickered above Seattle, Rose whispered into the evening. We found our sunrise. Because sometimes, the most beautiful families aren't the ones without storms, but the ones who survive them together.